Are you excited for the 2025 NFL season? If you guys are, make sure you like today's video for me right now. The more likes we get on today's video, the more wins that the Bengals will have this season. You don't have to argue with me. We have the data to prove it. So if you want the Bengals to win a lot of games this year, make sure you like today's video. All right, coming up on today's show, I want to touch on two players that have really been showing out during training camp for the Cincinnati Bengals this year, specifically two players that they selected in this past year's NFL draft. The first player I want to touch on here is Dylan Fairchild. The Bengals selected him in the third round of the 2025 NFL draft out of Georgia. And I think for where the Bengals ended up picking him, he might end up being a steal for them, especially if he ends up working out along the offensive line. Zac Taylor even said after the draft that he didn't feel like Dylan Fairchild was going to be there where they ended up selecting him. So we're going to talk about Fairchild. We're also going to talk about Tahj Brooks here on today's show. The Bengals picked him in the sixth round of the 2025 NFL draft out of Texas Tech. And, just watching the way he was out there running the ball versus the Philadelphia Eagles in the first Bengals preseason game gave me a lot of confidence that if you put him behind that first offensive line, I think he's going to end up really thriving. So let me know down at the pinned comment here of today's video, what player, which rookie are you more excited about watching this season? Type DF if you're excited about watching Dylan Fairchild, or type TB if you're more excited about watching Tahj Brooks. Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. All right, this is our very own Tom Downey's draft rankings here for Dylan Fairchild. He had him selected as a fourth-round grade, and, the Bengals ended up actually getting him in the third round. So, they might have taken him a little bit early compared to what Tom Downey had. Also had him as the 114th overall player on his big board. Bengals end up picking him at 81st overall. But I think, if you take into consideration a little bit about what he was going through last season, he was banged up a little bit in his final season there with the Bulldogs, and that did cause his snap share, to go down, compared to what it probably would have been. Those hurries were a little bit higher than they maybe would have liked. But I think overall, man, Dylan Fairchild is going to be an incredible player for the Bengals along their offensive line. And I think he's going to end up bringing a lot of juice to that offensive line as well. You look at what he did versus the Eagles in the Bengals' first preseason game. Sure, he only played 16 snaps in that game, but didn't give up a sack, didn't give up a hit, didn't give up any pressures in that game. Also, very important, didn't have any penalties called on him in that game either. And you could take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but his overall PFF grade was 89.5. That is incredibly good. Like I said, you could take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. And he only played 16 snaps in that game against some of the Bengals backups. But I think for a rookie that you got in the third round at a position that you were really looking to upgrade, man, I think Dylan Fairchild is really, really going to be a good player for the Cincinnati Bengals for the years to come. So what is your confidence level in Dylan Fairchild? Scale it for me 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Get down there and let me know what you guys think. Are you still a little bit nervous about the rookie being a starter there along the offensive line? Or do you think he's going to go out there and really thrive this year? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section of today's video. So overall, I think picking players from some of the best teams in the country is a very smart idea. You see teams like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Baltimore Ravens, they have a lot of success with just loading up with players from teams like Alabama and Georgia. They're already recruiting some of the best players in the country coming out of high school, and then you put those players into some of the best strength and conditioning programs in the country, and then you also have some of the best coaching and development in the country as well. Dylan Fairchild out of Georgia, obviously one of the best programs in the country there, and having Kirby Smart as your head coach, you're obviously going to do a good job in development at that point as well. And not only that, but they also come from a great football culture as well, where you're held accountable for your actions, whether they're good or bad, and how you go out about your business as a professional. And I think Dylan Fairchild really brings that dog element, no pun intended, to this Bengals offensive line that they're really going to need this season, especially when you're trying to protect Joe Burrow, a guy that you went out and you spent a lot of money to end up keeping, one of the best, if not the best quarterback, maybe outside of Patrick Mahomes, in the National Football League. I think this is a very, very good pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think, bringing that Georgia Bulldog mentality to the Bengals is going to be something that, really shines this season overall, I believe. All right, we'll continue on talking about Tahj Brooks here in just a second. But if you guys need a new Bengals game day polo, you can get this one today just by going to chatsports.com/Bengals polo. It is still on sale right now for only $53. Originally, it was $85. So I would assume, once the season starts, that price is going to go back up. So if you guys need a new game day polo, you can get this one on sale today for only $53. Just go to chatsports.com/Bengals polo. I'll put that link down at the pinned comment of today's video, as well as very high up in the description around that second, third paragraph area there. So just chatsports.com/Bengals polo. You guys can get this one on sale today. Tahj Brooks is the next guy that I want to talk about here. And I think, it's more to him rather than Dylan Fairchild. I think you really got to steal with Tahj Brooks where you ended up picking him. Tom Downey had a 5th-round draft grade on him. The Bengals ended up getting him later on in the NFL draft. Obviously, he was rated there as 161 overall. The Bengals took him with the 193rd pick overall. So if Tahj Brooks ends up working out for the Cincinnati Bengals, I think that's going to be a steal for them at that running back spot. You look at, some of his past years, the last 4 years that he had rushing the football, when you're coming up, redshirt sophomore and then, redshirt junior season there, the first 2 years, that's pretty decent production at the end of the day. Over 6 yards per carry in 2021, 4.7 still pretty good there in 2022. And then back-to-back years with at least 1,500 rushing yards, both years as well, averaging 5.3 yards per carry. So I think he's going to be a guy that can get you that same thing in the NFL. And in terms of receiving ability as well, he's not going to be a guy that is, 100% going to be a guy that comes out of the backfield and catches balls for you. But he does have the ability to do that. And especially, with Joe Burrow, they like doing that, getting it to the running backs, getting those checkdowns as well, taking what the defense gives you. I think Tahj Brooks has that athletic ability to be able to break some of those, checkdowns and whatnot to him out of the backfield for some pretty big gains as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to Bengals Breakdown. We'll continue to keep you updated on all things Cincinnati Bengals. We'll also continue to do as many watch parties as we possibly can here. So make sure you do not miss out. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/Bengals TV. All right, earlier I told you guys Zac Taylor didn't expect to have Dylan Fairchild where they got him in the NFL draft. He kind of, thought the same thing about Tahj Brooks as well, just talking about him after the NFL draft, saying he's tough, he's got great lateral quickness, good ball skills, he can protect for us as well. Really just a good all-around player. Our running backs coach, Justin Hill, knew him from the pre-draft process years ago. This was a good running back class, and Tahj was one where we were really, really high on from a scouts and coaches perspective. For him to be there in the 6th round when we got him, we are really lucky that he fell to us at that point. And I think when you look to this Bengals running back depth chart right now, I think, in the preseason game versus the Eagles, Tahj Brooks had 10 carries for only 26 yards. That doesn't seem great just listening and hearing that and looking at the score box there, but he was running behind the Bengals' 2nd and 3rd string offensive line. And I think, considering 24 out of the 26 yards that he had were after contact, I think you put him behind that first-team offensive line. I think he's really going to, thrive there. And I thought he was running hard. He was really running with mean intentions as well. So I think Tahj Brooks will probably, in my opinion, I think he's going to end up pushing for that running back 2 spot above Samaje Perine as well. Look at what Samaje Perine has done the past couple of years. It's not really the best. Perine in his career in 8 seasons has only had 3 seasons where he's rushed for over 300 yards. And one of those is kind of a caveat because he had 301 yards in one of those seasons as well. Only one season he ran for over 500 yards. So I think, when you're talking about Tahj Brooks, I think he's going to be a guy that you put him behind that first-team offensive line. I think there's a really, really good chance that he ends up pushing for that running back 2 spot this year above Samaje Perine. So what do you guys think? Will Tahj Brooks overtake Samaje Perine for running back 2 this year for the Cincinnati Bengals? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section of today's video. Type Y for yes or N for no. Will Tahj Brooks overtake Samaje Perine for that running back 2 spot? I think the thing that could really make or break Tahj Brooks surpassing Samaje Perine for that running back 2 spot will be his ability to pass protect. Like I said earlier, you are spending a ton of money every single year on Joe Burrow, and you cannot afford to have somebody out there that cannot consistently pick up the blitz. He was an okay pass protector at Texas Tech. He had 324 pass block reps over 5 years there, and he only gave up 2 sacks in that time. He did get credited with a bunch of pressures on there, though, so got to clean up that a little bit as well. But Zac Taylor, like we read in that quote, they have confidence that he can pass block. So, we will see if or how he continues to improve in that element of his game. But for where the Bengals ended up drafting Tahj Brooks, I think they might have pulled off highway robbery in the 2025 NFL draft.